जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधव जय राधा माधव। राधा माधव जय राधा माधव। जय कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्याभामा। कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्याभामा। जय गौरनिताय 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 जय गौरनिताय। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद् हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ISKCON फाउंडर आचार्य, BBT फाउंडर आचार्य से वृद्ध होल वर्ल्ड विश्व गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय विष्णुपाद नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर महाराज की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य शिला हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। षड गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्-भागवतम की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असेंबल डिवोटीज, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असेंबल डिवोटीज, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 27, Text number 2. Saha Esha Yarhi Prakrtir Sa Esha Yarhi Prakrtir Guneshu Abhivisajjate Guneshu Abhivisajjate Ahankriya Vimudhatma Ahankriya Vimudhatma Karta Asmi Iti Abhimanyate Kartasmiti Abhimanyate Sa Esha Yarhi Prakrtir Guneshu Abhivisajjate Ahankriya Vimudhatma Kartasmiti Abhimanyate Sa Esha Yarhi Prakrtir Guneshu Abhivisajjate Ahankriya Vimudhatma Kartasmaiti Abhimanyate
साये सर्गी प्रकृते गुणेषु अभिविसज्जते अहंक्रिया विमुदात्मा कर्तस्मैति अभिमन्यते
स एष यर्हि प्रकृतेर् गुणेषु अभिविसज्जते अहंक्रिया विमूढात्मा कर्तास्मीत्यभिमन्यते
स एषा यर्हि प्रकृते गुणेषु अपि विसज्जते अहङ्क्रिया विमूढात्मा कर्तास्मीति अभिमन्यते
स एष यार्हि प्रकृते गुणेषु अभिविसज्जते अहंक्रिया विमूढात्मा कर्तास्मिति अभिमन्यते।
Saha, that very living entity. Eshaha, this. Yarhi, when. Prakritehe, material nature, guneshu, in the modes, abhivisajjate, is absorbed, ahankriya, by false ego, vimudha, bewildered, atma, the individual soul, karta, the doer, asmi, I am, iti, thus, abhimanyate, he thinks. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. When the soul is under the spell of material nature and false ego, identifying his body as the self, he becomes absorbed in material activities. And by the influence of false ego, he thinks that he is the proprietor of everything. Kindly repeat the translation. When the soul is under the spell of material nature and false ego, identifying his body as the self, he becomes absorbed in material activities. And by the influence of false ego, he thinks that he is the proprietor of everything. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Actually, the conditioned soul is forced to act under the pressure of the modes of material nature. The living entity has no independence. When he is under the direction of Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is free. But when under the impression that he is satisfying his senses, he engages in sense gratificatory activities, he is actually under the spell of material nature. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Prakrite Kriyamanani. One acts according to the particular modes of nature he has acquired. Guna refers to the qualities of nature. He is under the qualities of nature, but he falsely thinks that he is the proprietor. This false sense of proprietorship can be avoided simply by engaging oneself in devotional service under the direction of Supreme Lord or his bona fide representative. Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita was trying to accept for himself the responsibility for killing his grandfather and teacher in the fight. But he became freed from that proprietorship of action when he acted under the direction of Krishna. He fought, but he was actually freed from the reaction of fighting. Although in the beginning, when he was non-violent, unwilling to fight, the entire responsibility was upon him. That is the difference between liberation and conditioning. A conditioned soul may be very good and act in the mode of goodness, but still he is conditioned under the spell of material nature. A devotee, however, acts completely under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Thus his action may not appear to be of very high quality to the common man, but the devotee has no responsibility. Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, after Kardama Muni left, Mother Devahuti took instructions from Lord Kapila, his own son. Mother Devahuti wanted to understand about devotional service, how the living entity becomes entangled in this material world, and how the living entity can be liberated from this entanglement. So in response, Lord Kapila first explained about the glories of devotional service. Because the Vedic literatures are filled with so many different kinds of instructions. There is every possibility that when we are not reading this Vedic literature under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, we lose the whole essence of the Vedic literatures. Just like after reading whole Bhagavad Gita, if one comes to the conclusion, there is no Krishna, there is no Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is telling Vedescha sarve ahameva vedyaha. From all the Vedic literatures, I am to be known. But if after reading all the Vedas, one does not come to this conclusion, then his whole study of the Vedas is useless. It is of no use. So, before explaining Sankhya philosophy, Lord Kapila is first explaining the most important essence of the Vedic literature, devotional service, the glories of devotional service, so that we do not get carried away by the analytical understanding of Sankhya and forget the most important essence, the devotional service. Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita explains very nicely the connection between Sankhya and devotional service. Prabhupada says Sankhya means with analysis trying to find out the root of a tree, and devotional service is to start watering that root of the tree. Where Sankhya philosophy ends, actually devotional service begins. So, this is a very important understanding, because we may wonder why Lord Kapila is explaining about Sankhya, all these things. Because, first of all, intellectually, with our faculties of mind, intelligence, we have to be convinced about what is this material nature, what is the root of this material nature. Factually, we will come to the understanding, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam janmanam ante Jnanvan mam prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvam Iti. Understanding that Krishna is the root of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattaha sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam. This is a very important thing. Iti matva, understanding Krishna is the root of everything, one takes to devotional service. Iti matva bhajante mam. Otherwise we will think, why I have to undergo, why I have to read all this Sankhya philosophy, analysis of how this material existence came into existence, how mind was formed, how senses were formed, what is Virata Purusha, what is his role. All these things, we may wonder why it is required, isn't it? So, if we see after the glorification in the first chapter of Lord Kapila's teachings, he starts with understanding the fundamentals of material nature. You see, if you see the last chapter, it is fundamental principles of material nature. In that chapter, Lord Kapila explains about how these different material elements came into existence. And there, he brings about the important concept of Virata Purusha, the universal form of the Lord. How the universal form of the Lord, the Virata Purusha, he was not aroused. There are senses which he has created through his material energy. There is mind. And whether it is the senses, whether it is the mind, whether it is different kinds of material elements, all of them have their presiding deities. And how the presiding deities are connected to the mind or to the senses is all explained by the Lord. But above them is this Virata Purusha, under whom, how the living entities are related to this Virata Purusha, how the presiding deities of the senses or mind, they are related to Virata Purusha, is also explained. And finally, in the conclusion, it's a very interesting conclusion of the last chapter. Very beautifully, Lord Kapila describes that. I'll read that verse. Yatha prasuptam purusham pranendriya mano dhiyaha prabhavanti vina yena na utthapayitum ojasa. So there, Lord Kapila explains, when a man is sleeping, then all his material assets, this is very important. When a person is sleeping, all his material assets, we may think, I have my intelligence, I have my mind, I have my senses, I have my prana, ojasa. They cannot arouse a sleeping person. When a man is sleeping, his senses, his mind, his intelligence cannot arouse him. Similarly, the Virata Purusha, he was not aroused by all these things. Formation of mind, formation of intelligence, all these things he has created. But still, the Virata Purusha did not arouse. So, Lord Kapila concludes, he can be aroused only when the super soul helps him. We may have all our so-called material assets, but when a man is sleeping, all his material assets are useless. They cannot arouse the sleeping soul. He can be aroused only with the help of the super soul Paramatma in the heart. So then, why are we studying what are these material senses? What is this mind? What is this intelligence? For two very important purposes. To understand that soul actually is not the proprietor, and his original position is different. In the previous verse to this, these two concepts were explained by Lord Kapila. Why the living entity is entangled in the material world is because of these two misunderstandings which comes out of false ego. What is that? Actually, he is unchanged in his position, but he has changed his position. His position is to be subservient to the Lord. But out of ahankara, which is given because of his material desire to lord it over, the Lord has provided him that faculty. Where in illusion he thinks, I am the proprietor. I am the doer. And if you are the proprietor, if you are thinking you are the proprietor, if you are thinking you are the doer, then you have to also suffer the results. When we come to understand, I am not the proprietor, I am not the doer. Material nature is doing through me everything. I am fully under the control of material nature. Then one becomes free from the action of his doing. No more he has to suffer for whatever action he performs, because he performs all his actions according to his original position as the servant of the Lord. With clear understanding, I am not the proprietor. So, Lord Kapila explains how to come to this understanding in the last verse of the last chapter. In the final verse, the Lord says, after explaining all Virata Purusha, how he is the origin of everything, how one will come to this understanding that actually he is the origin, he is the proprietor. Very simple, just like for a devotee it is very easy to understand. He is Rishikesha, he is the proprietor of my senses. We don't require analytical study of all these things to understand. A devotee very easily understands that Krishna is the proprietor of all my senses. Isn't it? So, Lord Kapila explains, just by performing devotional service, which is automatically accompanied with jnana and vairagya, a person will become detached from the influence of three modes of material nature. Otherwise, simply by our mental and intellectual faculty, it is actually not possible to become free. We can analyze and try to understand. But without actually beginning devotional service, no question that actually we can come out of the influence of three modes of material nature. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, Mama Maya Durattaya. To come out of the spell of material modes of nature is not possible just by analytical study. It is not possible. Intellectually we can understand, I am not the proprietor. Everybody can say, I am not the proprietor. Krishna is the proprietor. But without beginning devotional service, which is accompanied with jnana and vairagya, it is then that a person becomes free from the influence of three modes of material nature. And the example was given. I'll just read that verse. This chapter is called Understanding Material Nature. The previous verse said, Personality of Godhead, Kapila continued. When the living entity is thus unaffected by the modes of material nature. So question is, when did Lord Kapila say he becomes unaffected by modes of material nature? He only described material nature. Right? Whole chapter, last chapter was only describing how these different modes become manifested, how false ego becomes manifested, how mind becomes manifested, how senses have come into existence. Where did Lord Kapila say that he becomes free from three modes of material nature? It is in the conclusion, last. In the end, he said that even after understanding mind, intelligence, all my faculties, material activities cannot arouse a person. The sleeping soul cannot be aroused just by mind or intelligence or senses. It is only through the help of super soul. When we engage those material assets, which we consider it is mine, when we engage them in the service of his, because he is actually the proprietor, that is the beginning of devotional service. Then it is possible living entity becomes freed from the three modes of material nature. I'll read these two very important conclusive verses of the last chapter. When a man is sleeping, all his material assets, namely the vital energy, that is prana, the senses for recording knowledge, jnanendriya, the senses for working the mind, the senses for working the mind and intelligence cannot arouse him. He can be aroused only when the super soul helps him. This is the conclusion. After analyzing all material elements which were created by the Virata Purusha. So it can be aroused only with the help of Paramatma. And then finally, the Lord says in the concluding verse, therefore, now we want to be aroused to spiritual understanding. Now it is, the soul is sleeping. We need the help of Paramatma, right? He has given the conclusion. And now he is saying how to get help from that Paramatma. How is it possible? In that concluding verse, he says, therefore, through devotion, detachment and advancement in spiritual knowledge acquired through concentrated devotional service, one should contemplate that super soul as present in very body through though simultaneously apart from it. With knowledge, when a person performs devotional service, Vasudeve Bhagavati, correct? Then what happens? Janayati ashu vairagyam jnanam cha yad ahetukam. Automatically, simultaneously, jnana and vairagya will arise. And with that understanding, a person will be able to understand the super soul is present in every body and still apart from it. Right? And how it is possible? He uses the word bhaktya viraktaya gnanena. Devotional service equipped with transcendental knowledge and detachment. It is possible. So he concludes that last chapter. Now, that is the connection. When a person has begun devotional service, jnana and vairagya have arisen in him. And when jnana and vairagya have come, he has become free from the influence of three modes. Otherwise, we may wonder, Lord Kapila starts the new chapter by saying, personality of Godhead, Kapila continued, when the living entity is thus unaffected by the modes of material nature. You see? Unaffected by. How thus? By performing devotional service equipped with jnana and vairagya. He becomes unaffected by modes of material nature. What does he understand? He is explaining. Because he is unchanging, avikarat, unchanging. He understands his unchanging position as servitor of the Lord. In illusion, I am thinking, I have become the Lord, I have become the master. This is one thing he will understand. Second, and does not claim proprietorship. He remain apart from reaction of mode. These two are very important component if you want to be away from the influence of three modes of material nature. Understanding, I have to act as a servant of the Supreme Lord and I am not the proprietor. These two things, when it dawns in our realization, then actually we become free from the three modes of material nature. And then what happens? Although abiding in material body, just as the sun remains aloof from its reflection on water. So he remains apart from reactions of modes, even though residing within this material body. And today's verse is very interesting and very important, especially for devotees. Because without this proper understanding, we find sometimes devotees are also in anxieties while doing varieties of services. Just like I remember, during the construction of our temple there in Hubli, actually it is very difficult to collect in a place like Hubli from the people. And out of enthusiasm, sometimes we may proceed, no, we'll go ahead, construct more, let us do. Isn't it? We try to take risk. And probably we may not understand our material position, our spiritual advancement. And then what happens? Undue anxieties. See, actually, if a person has realized to the extent that he is not the proprietor, yes, he can do. But we have not realized that. Still we are thinking it is my endeavor. Isn't it? Otherwise, why anxieties are coming? If we understand Krishna is the proprietor, he is the giver of the result, then why anxiety? Servant has any anxiety? Prabhupada explains, does a servant has any anxiety? Actually, servant has no anxiety. All anxieties are of the master. Isn't it? But spiritual anxiety definitely we have to take. But spiritual anxiety is different from material anxiety. Material anxiety you can understand. If your health is deteriorating, you are taking material anxiety. If your consciousness is deteriorating, you are taking material anxiety. You are not taking spiritual anxiety. You see? So this happened. And at one point of time, I was getting calls after calls. Swami ji, 2 महीना हो गया, मेरा payment का क्या होगा? See? We will think like that. Isn't it? So, there is a difference between doing the work under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, under his proper direction when we act with clear understanding. Krishna is the proprietor. He will also give us inspiration in what way to act, where you will be free from these kind of material anxieties. Otherwise, it is our endeavor, and superficially we may think, no, Krishna is the proprietor, he will take care. Isn't it? It's not like that. So we have to properly understand. This is very interesting. I'll read this. This purport to this verse is very, very important for devotees. How they can become free from all material anxieties. So I'll read this, one portion of this. This false sense of proprietorship can be avoided simply by engaging oneself in devotional service under the direction of Supreme Lord or his bona fide representative. This direction is very important. It is not capricious work. Whatever I think I will do, and later on I say, this is devotional service. No. Devotional service is not whatever you do out of your own whims, and then later on say, Krishna, you are the proprietor. While doing the work, you did not contact the Lord. You did not contact the representative of the Lord. You did not work under the direction of the Lord. Capriciously, whimsically, we work. And then we say, my dear Lord, you are the proprietor, and you are in anxiety. Isn't it? This is the whole thing. If our dependence is there on the Lord, then how to act, how much to act, how much to do, everything the Lord will guide. Without spiritual maturity, otherwise we will do whimsical actions. And then wonder, I did it for the service of the Lord, why nothing is coming? Why so much anxiety? Isn't it? We will think like this. So, just like even Srila Prabhupada, he told his devotees, he told his disciples, that don't take too much anxiety. And if you feel disturbed by that anxiety, better to sit down and chant Hare Krishna. Because our spiritual consciousness is very important. You build your muscle and then you lift the weight. Without building your muscle, you try to lift more weight, what will happen? You'll break your back. You'll break your hands. So will you say, no, I lifted for Krishna? Are, lifted for Krishna according to your capacity you do, no? Krishna did not say, you have this much capacity and you do something else. No. As per our capacity, we have to render. And as we become more mature, Krishna will give you more capacity also. Then you do more. Not in our position when we have no maturity in spiritual life and we want to do, I want to spread Krishna consciousness like this. We'll do like this, we'll do this. Big projects we will do. Isn't it? That kind of enthusiasm will not last for a long time. It will only put you into undue anxieties. See? So this is very important. So I'll read this further. The false sense of proprietorship can be avoided simply by engaging oneself in devotional service under the direction of Supreme Lord or his bona fide representative. Now you see the example. Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita was trying to accept for himself the responsibility for killing his grandfather and teacher in the fight. But he became freed from that proprietorship of action when he acted under the direction of Krishna. He was ordered by the Lord, you fight for my sake. Right? So, similarly, under the direction of Krishna or his bona fide representative, devotional service is performed. Devotional service should not be performed whimsically. Any action we perform and we call it devotional service and we say we will dovetail it. Dovetailing is an art which has to be done under spiritual master's direction. Isn't it? It is not that we are expert in dovetailing. We are not expert in dovetailing. Isn't it? He fought, but he was actually freed from the reaction of fighting, although in the beginning, when he was non-violent, unwilling to fight, entire responsibility was upon him. You see? So, responsibility, if we think, just like Prabhupada gives this example, many times we have heard about this example. When a dog passes stool in somebody else's garden, it has no proprietorship. Nobody will be held responsible. Nobody will come and catch your neck. Why that dog has passed stool in my garden? But the moment you start claiming the dog belongs to me, immediately that neighbor will come and catch you. Your dog has passed stool in my garden. Because you have claimed proprietorship. The moment you claim proprietorship, then you have to suffer that result also. So Arjuna in the beginning was claiming proprietorship and he was held responsible. Yes, you will be responsible for killing these people. It's a fact. He would have been responsible because he was claiming proprietorship. If I kill these people, I will go to hell. It's a fact. The moment he thinks I am the proprietor, he will go to hell because you have claimed proprietorship. But when he understands, no, I am just a servant of the Lord. Lord has told me fight, I will fight. I do not bother about the result. And then he fought. And then no more he has to suffer. The responsibility is not his. Responsibility is Krishna's. So, when A person has come to this mature understanding. Krishna is the proprietor. I am only the servant. I will only act on his behalf. I will only act under the direction given by my spiritual master or Krishna. Then you are free from any kind of responsibility of that action. Otherwise, we have to take responsibility. You cannot say, I am the temple president and you do irresponsible work and you say, no, I was engaged in devotional service, everything happened, it is all Krishna's will. No. While doing action, you never thought. Because if you had thought, you will not do that kind of action because Krishna will not give you that kind of foolish intelligence to do such kind of work, nonsense work. And then later on, when it comes to result, then when the result is not good, you are saying, Krishna, you are the proprietor. Otherwise, you would have taken credit, I did. Isn't it? So, when we have come to that mature understanding that yes, Krishna is the proprietor, I will simply act on his behalf, then actually you have no anxiety, no responsibility whatsoever. It's a fact. Otherwise, to the point we are thinking I am the proprietor, we will have to take responsibility. We will be in anxiety. There is no doubt about it. Isn't it? So, I think we'll conclude with this. Anyone has any question?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. You said one should not take anxiety more than his capacity. But let's say the institute requires the devotee to act in such a way which might be beyond his capacity. So then how?
So then you don't have to worry because institute has given you direction. You are acting under the direction. Right? So then you have no more responsibility. Then you should not worry. Whatever results come, it is not out of your whims you have done. Isn't it? Some mature devotees, experienced devotees, depending on the Lord, have given you that work. So you do that. You will not become entangled, do not worry. Because if there is a higher order, then there is, along with the order, Krishna's mercy also will come.
But what if they expect you to bring some result as well? Then you will be in anxiety, correct? If you are not.
See, expecting result, finally, you have to understand we have to do our duty. And when you do your duty, results will automatically come. Why it will not come? Krishna will provide whatever is required for his devotees to spread Krishna consciousness, no? It will come. Why it will not come? Isn't it? So, that is how to actually become free from anxiety. When the work is given by the superior and we act on their behalf, then we have no more anxiety. Loss or gain, it is belonging to the Supreme Lord. Why we have to be in anxiety?
So the example you gave of devotees in Hubli, weren't they also acting under superiors' instruction?
No, I did not give example. I gave my own example. That sometimes in over-enthusiasm we may think does not matter, we will do it for Krishna. And then we borrow money, borrow items from people and speeden up the work unnecessarily. It may happen, no? See, there is a way of gradual building the temple. And let us say based on the faith on the temple, people may give also, thinking Swamiji will return after 1 or 2 months maximum. Isn't it? And I may think, no. So I will, let us say, I say, give me lights, give me fans. And we have no money. And we put everything. And then I'm in anxiety. My God, I did it for Krishna. But when you did you ask Krishna, should I do? This is important. Did Krishna tell you, you expedite the whole thing, borrow from people, and somehow or other you build? I'm just giving an example. This kind of capricious work is not devotional service. It's not out of maturity. Isn't it? But yes, when we depend on higher order, it will happen. Just like I remember, when it was taking too much of time to build this temple, and 2 years of corona effect was also there. Then some devotees gave me a proposition. Prabhu, why don't we do one thing? Reduce the budget, no? Whole project, let us reduce this budget. Why we have to build such a big, huge temple? Why not we try to adjust all the facilities? Just like one devotee gave the example, why do we require a lecture hall? Here it is happening, no? Just like in the temple hall only we are doing. Why don't we do it in the temple hall only? And they are giving example in ISKCON, Vrindavan, it is happening in the temple hall only, no? Why we require a separate lecture hall? We'll delete that. Like that, they suggested, why don't we adjust one floor, we will delete completely. One floor we will delete completely. And I was also excited. Good, very nice idea. I went and met our architect. Architect was also excited. प्रभु जी जल्दी हो जाएगा ना प्रोजेक्ट फिर तो चलो निकाल देंगे. एक पूरा निकाल दिया. 1 week बैठ करके उन्होंने सारा एडजस्टमेंट कर दिया. ये फ्लोर से निकाल के इधर में डाल दिया, इधर डाल दिया सब. And then Madhu Pandit Prabhu came. And I proposed, Prabhu, all our devotees have worked hard and our architect has worked hard. We have deleted one floor. What do you say? He only said, you will repent later on. In Bangalore, for every inch of space we are struggling, and that situation will come to Hubli in few more years. Then you will repent. So immediately I gave up that proposal. And by Krishna's mercy, today we have that floor, everything is there and it is coming up, isn't it? So this is how we have to act. Because if he has said, now it is no more my responsibility, it will happen or not happen, Madhu Pandit Prabhu has said, no, do not worry, go ahead. So now I don't have to take anxiety, it will happen or not happen. He has said, we'll do it. Isn't it? So that is the idea of getting free from anxiety. When you act on the order, under the direction of mature, experienced devotee, then why you have to take anxiety? It will happen.
Yeah, one question. It's not a question. It's like just to uplift my understanding. I am still on the way to reach to a level where I can ask questions. But this query is regarding when we talk about God's direction, like as you have given an example, even if God has given direction to fight, we should fight. Even we will suffer, no problem, we will move forward. So how we can understand what God has told, like how to connect with God and to understand what God's direction?
I could not exactly understand. Anybody could understand and explain to me little what exactly?
Hare Krishna Prabhu is asking how to understand that this is the God direction for me.
Okay. We have to confirm it. Whatever direction, let us say, you may receive through someone, we have to assert and confirm it through our higher authorities, more mature devotees. Let us say, because it's a fact, the Lord can speak through someone also, even a materialist. Just like Prabhupada gives this example of his own life. He says that one of my God brother, through him my spiritual master forced me to take sannyas. Prabhupada is giving actually credit to his spiritual master who spoke through my God brother, and I had to take sannyas. He forced me to take sannyas through this God brother. Right? So, that some direction we get either from some person, somebody gives some idea, you have been struggling for solving some problem, and then suddenly you get an idea. And if you are still confused whether it is the direction of the Lord, then you have to confirm it with some experienced and more mature devotees that this is what I feel I should be doing. What do you think about that? Isn't it? Otherwise, we'll have to take responsibility of whatever actions we are doing. We'll stop with this. Grantaraj, have one more. Okay. Do we have time? Another time is there? Or okay, one last question.
Prabhu, sometimes devotees have to be conscious about their health. Like say
About
their health.
Health, yes.
If health gets deteriorated, then they'll not be able to do services. So what is the right kind of consciousness, like without taking material anxiety?
Okay. You see, even the authorities of a temple, they have to be sensitive to the different circumstances the devotee is in or the devotees are in. Say, for example, the temple president thinks, no, it has to be completed within this much stipulated time. And he tells devotee, go out. From morning to night, you should not come back. And he does not bother about their health. The poor devotees, they will go out and they will spoil their health. Then the temple president is held responsible for that action. Because in that position, he has to take decisions. It may come out sometimes to be wrong or right, that is not a question. But to the best of his capability, understanding the circumstances, he has to act. He cannot be non-sensitive to the environment, to the health of the devotees, and give orders. And then, because the devotees are thinking, anyway, the order is given by my superior, I have to carry it out, and they spoil their health. It is not good in that sense. So definitely, at all level, everybody has to act responsibly at every level. So sometimes, let us say, you may find that your authorities are not acting responsibly, and others are also feeling, other devotees are also feeling, then you should take that issue to your more higher authorities, to the temple president. And if it is not solved by the temple president, it can be taken even up to the GBC. Because if the whole atmosphere of the temple, the health issues of the temple is getting spoiled, one cannot remain irresponsible in that situation. Generally, it doesn't happen, but I'm saying, because you're giving that kind of example, generally, the temple president or the authorities, they have occupied that position, they're given that position because they're supposed to be mature to handle such kind of situations, where they do not overburden a person in certain service, wherein he has to take over anxieties and he spoils his health. Sometimes in emergency, 1 day, 2 days, some festivals, it is understandable, but it cannot be a daily culture, isn't it? Because factually, Prabhupada's order is you have to take care of sadhana also. You have to take care of service. You have to take care of your health. Everything is important. Balance is very important. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.